evening. Welcome to WHRO and the 11th Annual Reading Rainbow Awards Program. Give yourself a big hand for being here. Tonight we have how many winners? Can anybody tell me? 12, right. We have 12. So we went from 650 to 12. You all are the 12 best readers and writers that entered our contest. That's great. That's great. We're really proud of you. Let's find out about these stories. Let's start with Jonathan Argaman. Jonathan, there you are. Come on up, Jonathan. Come right up and sit in the big yellow chair. All right. Jonathan is our honorable mention in kindergarten. And Jonathan, you wrote a story called Joe Gets New Wheels, right? Right. Okay. Jonathan, let me know. Do you like cars and trucks and motorcycles and things like that? Yeah. That's why you wrote the story, right? Right. Okay. Well, the very first place you went, where was the first place you went? Do you know? Do you remember? You went to see a very special person.
President of the United States.
He went to see the president, and the president gave you something. What did he give you?
A limousine.
I like that. His old limousine, right? Mm-hmm. and so then where did you go after that in the limousine? Where did you go next?
To the zoo in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You went to the zoo in Ohio. A lot of our stories travel around this year, believe me. Okay, so then you went to the zoo, and then you found another kind of vehicle. Tell all the different vehicles that you have in your story. Can you remember them all?
Then the airplane, the red sports car,
There was a motorcycle in there. I remember that.
There was a motorcycle. That was in the first.
Yeah, that was your very first one, wasn't it? Yeah.
A dirt bike. Then the
best thing was when you got home and what was in your driveway waiting for you?
A monster truck.
I think that's a great story. Lots of different vehicles you had there. Well, maybe your story will come true, but we're real proud of you, and congratulations, and thanks for coming up and talking to me, okay? All right, thank you, Jonathan. Here's your story. All right, now if I can have Caitlin run. She's our first place kindergarten winner. Come on down, Caitlin. You look so pretty tonight.
Yes.
Caitlin's story was about a fairy and a
princess.
And the princess' name, guess what her name was in the story?
Princess Caitlin.
Of course. And you had a king and queen in your story. Who might that king and queen be?
My mommy and my daddy.
That's what I figured. Well, in your story, the princess gets sick, doesn't she? And so what happens?
The fairy brings a bottle and she pulls it out her backpack, and then she gives it to the princess.
And what about that? What about what was in the bottle?
It was medicine.
And did it taste good?
No, not really.
That's right. It tasted bad. You said, yeah, it tasted bad. But it did make her better, didn't it? So then when the princess got better, what happened?
They all lived happily ever after.
Absolutely. And they had a party. They had a celebration like we're having tonight, right? And at the very end of her story are all these rainbows. So that was a beautiful story, and you're a beautiful little girl. So congratulations. Okay, here you go, Caitlin. Here's your story. And there's your certificate. All right. Okay, our next winner is Sam Wilson. Come on up, Sam. Sam is our honorable mention winner from first grade, and he wrote a story called The Dog Party. Do you have a dog, Sam?
Yes.
And what's your dog's name?
Sadie.
So Sam's dog's name is Sadie, but the first line of Sam's story reads, Jake was a dog, right? Something like that. I like that, Jake the dog. Well, in your story, Jake gets an invitation, right? And he really, really, really wants to go to this party, doesn't he? So what happens?
Well,
Did he go to the party?
yes.
He went to the party, but something else was going on in his family that day, right? Can you tell us what that was?
He was supposed to go to his grandparents.
That's right. He was supposed to see his grandparents, but he wanted to go to the dog party instead because all of his friends were going to be there. And so he went to the dog party, and they played some great games. Can you remember what the names of the games were that they played?
No.
It was like pin the tail on the doggy or something like that, and fetch the bones. Some games like that. All right. So he went to the party, and the little boy was opening up his presents, and he just felt really sad, didn't he? Why did he feel sad?
Because he knew he did the wrong thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what happened when he got home, though?
His grandparents were there.
And they were all happy then, right? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. That was a great story. And here you go, Sam. Here is your story, the dog party, and your certificate. And there you go. Thank you, Sam. Our first place winner in first grade had to move all the way to California. So we were in a dilemma thinking about what should we do? Should we pick another first place winner? And we felt like, well, no. Really, this was the story that won first place, so they should get the award. Well, we went through various ideas of whether we might have him tape ahead of time, and actually he had already moved he was already in California, so that wasn't exactly going to work out. But he had a friend who was willing to come and read his story. So our first place winner, his name is Christopher Langan, but it is Jessica Martinson that's going to come up here and talk to us a little bit about this story. Okay, so you two are friends. Tell me about that.
Well, we were in first grade and kindergarten together, and in first grade we made up this game at lunchtime where we had this game where there was like a special island when it was like 3:30 through 4:30. That like the sand would become like sugar and we could eat it, and the trees and the and like animals became crackers. So if we fell in the water and then there was a huge shark coming, we could just eat it instead of the shark eating us. We can eat the shark if it's gonna come.
Well, I think she should write that story for next year and enter the contest herself. Well, so Christopher moved away, and you had to come and read his story for him, right? What's his story about?
It's about a platypus.
And what does that platypus like to eat?
Mayflies.
Mayflies. And what else about it? What was that other thing you were telling me about? You just didn't quite understand in the story why it wasn't there, why it wasn't drawn that way.
There weren't poison spikes in the picture.
Although that was in the copy, right? In the words it said that. So she's like, that should be in the story. Well, I tell you what, I think it's really nice of you to come and read the story for him so that we can let everyone know about his story. And I think you should write that story about the playground turning into an island where everything turns into sugar and cookies.
And the ocean became blueberry water, and there were little blueberries floating in it.
I like this story. We'll look for that story next year, okay? All right. Thank you very much, Jessica. And here you go, sweetie. All right. If Cameron Jeffrey would come on. Cameron? Oh, you're over there. You're all the way over there. Okay. This is one of those things that none of us like, when bad weather strikes. But it's a very imaginative story. Not only does in this story do you travel all around, you also are kind of heroes in the story as well, aren't you? Yeah. Well, let's talk to people about your story. It starts out in North Carolina, right? And you were down there camping, and what happened?
One
of those things we're always worried about around here.
Hurricane came.
That's right. It was a hurricane, and so winds were howling, so you had to go somewhere else, right? And you went all the way across the country to Oregon, right? And what happened in Oregon?
Thunderstorm.
So they had thunderstorm problems there. So you went from Oregon then to Maine, I believe it is. Yeah. And what happened in Maine? You were camping and something happened.
Blizzard.
And then you decided to go to the Midwest and go to Nebraska, right? And then when you were in Nebraska, you discovered something. And what did you discover?
Well, the evil scientist's lab underground.
So you and your dad discover this evil scientist lab, and he's the one causing all the weather problems, right? So what do you do in the lab?
Tried to reprogram the rockets.
Did it work? So when it didn't work, what happened?
The rockets exploded.
And his whole lab was blown up, right? So he couldn't be an evil scientist like that anymore. And what did he end up doing?
He
He reports on the weather somewhere. Where?
on the Weather Channel.
On the Weather Channel. So the evil scientist got his due, right? He has to keep repeating the weather all the time on the Weather Channel. I thought that was a great story. And thank you very much for writing it. And here you go. And let me give you your certificate. Congratulations. All right. Can I have Mei Chin? Come on up, Mei. You know, her story is about her grandpa's house, grandpa's old home. And she's in the second grade. She's our first place winner here. Your grandpa's house is not here in Hampton Roads, is it? Can you tell us about where your grandpa's house is?
My grandpa has lots of houses. Most of them are in China, and one of them are in California.
Okay, well, the one you like. Tell us about the one that's in the story.
The one in Beijing,
And why do you like this house so much?
because there's lots of things to do there and lots of fun things, and there's lots of details about the house.
And I think it's really special at her age. She's been all the way to China. That's wonderful to have that opportunity to travel like that. Well, you said outside of where the house is, there are all kinds of shops and people playing and riding bicycles, and a restaurant that has food you really like. Can you tell us about the food you really like that you get when you're there?
I like the spicy shredded potatoes. They're very spicy, but I don't mind.
Sounds good to me.
And
There's some sort of sweet you like, some sort of a. Tell me about that one.
it's kind of like a jelly popsicle called Green Ton. It tastes kind of like lime, and it's very chewy.
So those sound pretty good, don't they sound pretty good to you? Well, I think your story about your grandpa is very special. You know, my grandpa was very special to me, and the house that he lived in is still in my family, so I really appreciate that, and I know that you really appreciate your grandpa too, right? Okay, great. Well, congratulations, and let us give you your story back. There you go. All right, Taylor Stewart, come on down. As we read through these stories, we here at WHRO, the staff members here, we do not judge these stories. We have a panel of judges. We have a blue ribbon panel that goes through the top 10 to 20 entries in each category, in each grade level, that actually pick the winners. But as I read the stories, I almost always have a favorite title. And I have to tell you, this was my favorite title this year, Natalie the Donut. Natalie the Donut. I've actually been telling people about this story already, so see, you're already famous. First of all, why did you decide to name a donut?
I'm not really sure.
You just thought that would be a good idea. Well, Natalie in this story, it's just really funny what happens to Natalie in this story. She's there in the bakery, and what happens?
A policeman comes to get her, and she thinks that she's being arrested, but she's just gonna get eaten.
Right. She thinks that the policeman is arresting her. And why did she think maybe he was going to arrest her?
Because she stole a sprinkle from another donut, because the other donut had 30 and she only had 28, and she likes things to be even.
Right. So she was a little bit afraid maybe she was getting in trouble for that. But then when he started to eat her, what happened?
She screamed, and he got sort of frightened.
I would be kind of frightened if my donut screamed at me. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, did they become friends?
Yeah, they become great friends.
So she didn't. So she never really ended up getting eaten, right?
No.
No, no. But she and the policeman lived happily ever after. Is that what happened?
Yeah, and the policeman bought 2 other donuts, and they became known as the Sweet Friends Club.
I like that. Well, wasn't that a sweet story? Natalie the Donut. Well, congratulations. And here you go, Taylor. Here's your story. And here's your certificate. There you go. All right, Christian Pittman, come on up. Christian, let me guess. You're going to go to UVA when you get big, right? I had to ask that question. And we've already spoke. We are both cat people. I'm a cat person. You're a cat person,
Yeah.
right? Right. So we're friends already because of that. But your story is if cats could go to college. And now that's a different one. I don't know why did you think of writing a story about cats going to college?
Because I just like cats, and they're my favorite animal.
Yeah. Well, your cat, this is your cat's name too. What is it? What's your Sprat? Is it?
Yeah, Spratley.
Spratley. Spratley is his cat, and Spratley goes to college. And where might it be that Spratley went to college?
Virginia Tech Cat College.
Virginia Tech Cat College. Okay. Well, he went and he studied hard and he graduated. And after he graduated, he decided he wanted to do something. What was it he wanted to do?
Make his own dream school in his hometown.
So he made his own dream school in his hometown. And what's the name of that hometown?
Bacon's Castle.
Bacon's Castle, okay. And at that school, what was the school for?
For cats to learn so they could go to college.
And what kind of courses did they have in his school?
Like math and stuff that we do.
And then also things that cats do too, right? Like how to clean themselves, lick themselves clean, and stuff like that. So they had cat courses as well as courses that math and reading and all of that. He also started a kitty football team, right? And what were their names?
Purrs.
The Purrs. And why did he start that team?
So that he could keep the cats off the street.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea, the Purrs. So be watching for that team. Now, one of the really important things, though, at this school, beyond the classes, he really wanted to instill something in them, and it had to do with where they went to college, right? So can you tell us that part of the story?
Can you ask me the question again?
Okay. He taught them all the different subjects. But the reason was he really wanted him to go to a certain college and not another college. Can you tell us about that part?
Yeah, because he went to Virginia Tech Cat College, so he wanted all the other cat kittens to go to Virginia Tech Cat College and not to go to UVA.
Right. All right. Okay. Well, I think that's a funny little story, and we all liked it. A lot of the people that were reading the stories, especially the Blue Ribbon panel, really liked that story. I think we had some Tech and UVA people reading stories, and you won. Okay. Congratulations, and good luck in making it to Tech. All right, Aaron LaHue. Where's Aaron? Come on up, Aaron. I always love how the animals and the donuts, they all have names. And yours is named Claire. And what was Claire?
A cumulus cloud.
Right. And so she and her brother, right? What was her brother's name?
Clark.
So Clark and Claire are clouds, right? Okay. And they start out, they travel too. They travel all sorts of different places, don't they? Tell me about some of the places they travel and what happens while they're there.
Well, they go to Paris, and then they start raining, and they go to the tundra, and they start snowing.
They start snowing, and they were also here in Norfolk as well, right? Yeah. And so where was their favorite place? Do you know?
Hawaii,
It's one of my favorite places, too. How about you? Why did they like Hawaii?
because they got to see lots of children playing and being happy.
Yeah. Well, That's a great little science story there, and it had some science in it. So I always think that's good when we get not only imaginative stories, but stories that also have some detail in terms of science as well. So great job, and here's your story, and congratulations. Here you go. All right, Sydney Cook, come on down, or come on up rather. Okay. Now, your story is The Star and the Waning Moon, right? And again, stars and moons, they all have names, don't they? Okay, let's talk about your story. I actually learned some things in this that I didn't know. So there you go. You're teaching me. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about the two characters in your story. Can you tell us who they are?
The moon and a star.
Okay. And their names?
I think the star's name was Brad and the moon's name was Jerry.
Okay, all right. You did write this a little while ago. Okay, so Brad and Jerry, that's right. They're the moon and the star. And they become friends. And the star, they have a good time together. And then he goes looking for the moon, like in a few days. And what had happened?
He wasn't there because he was a new moon.
Right, and he didn't know what had happened. Where was his friend? And who helped him figure this all out?
Another star.
And what did that star tell him? Told him about all the phases of the moon, right? Yeah. Oh, what did he tell him?
He didn't, well, the star asked him, do you know where the moon is? But he didn't know. So both of them went looking for the sun because they thought the sun burnt the moon up.
And was it the sun that told them the story about the moon phases?
Yes.
Yeah, so the sun was the one that actually told them the story. So did you study this in your science class?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, congratulations. We liked your story very much, and thank you for teaching me a few things.
You're welcome.
All right, and now will Allie Golden come on. Allie has a great fable. Her story is How the Giraffe Got His Long Neck. Does anybody know? Besides your parents, and your teacher, I guess, they know. How the giraffe got his long neck? Well, after you hear this story, you will never forget how the giraffe got his long neck. And this story is beautiful in how you put it together. How did you do the artwork?
I just tore up little pieces of magazines and I'd glue them on.
So it's all done with magazine. The artwork is just beautiful. I got a couple of lions there watching TV. The giraffe. Tell us about the giraffe. What about the giraffe? He was kind of nosy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a really terrible gossip.
Right. So he was a gossip, and his whole mission in life was to find out what the stories were, right? He went to the elephants first, right? So was it the elephants he went to first, and what did he overhear?
He overheard that Frank the elephant forgot his wedding anniversary.
Uh-oh. So what did he do after he heard this juicy bit of gossip?
He went down to the water hole and told everybody.
And I guess that kind of embarrassed all the elephants, right? Because they're supposed to remember everything, right? Yeah, okay. So what about the lions? We saw the lions watching TV. What was that all about?
They were watching soap operas.
Ooh, so he went and told on them too?
Yep.
And then he was trying to hear somebody else. And who was that other person he was trying to hear?
The medicine man.
And that might not have been a good person to try to overhear, right? No. Why?
Because the medicine man saw him and made his neck grow 7 feet.
And when he made his neck grow, why did he do that? Why was that the spell that he cast?
He said, now I'll give you what you deserve, a longer neck for your eavesdropping.
And then everyone could see him coming, so he couldn't hide anymore, right? And then was he the one they were talking about at the water hole? Uh-huh. Okay, great. Where'd you get the idea for this? I think it's a great fable.
We were just kind of sitting around the kitchen table trying to think of a story, and somebody suggested it, and I was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that. So now you know how the giraffe got his long neck. Thanks to you. All right, here you go, Allie. All right. Finally, we have Miss Melody Stein. Melody, come on up. Would you believe Melody has been in this chair before? In third grade? Was it third grade? Third grade? And what was your third grade? You wrote poems, right? Did you write poems?
No, I wrote I Wish I Were a Fly on the Wall.
Oh, that's right. I wish I were a fly on the wall. Melody is one of our homeschool children in the area, and what we always find interesting, we've had repeat winners in the past as well, and we have different judges. So that goes to show that people, the children that do write really good stories, they are good. And if they write in a few years down the road, they may win again. And that's just what happened with our little Melody. Well, this year, in the fifth grade competition, we asked for stories about Africa. And she wrote a beautiful story about two African girls called Star Promise. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you did the artwork?
Well, I drew it with a pencil, and then I took scissors, or I tore it, and I made like different kinds of trees
And it's really beautiful. I encourage you to take a look at it on the large storyboards. Here are the two girls in the story. It's a very nice job. The art is very beautiful. Well, let's talk about your story, because your story makes a very important point too. Tell us about your story. Tell us about these two girls in Africa.
Well, they were sisters, and they really liked to spend time with each other. And so they were exploring the country, and they saw these two different colored men that looked like ghosts, because they were white men, and they've never seen any white men. So they started to run towards the village. And when they ran, Cambo fell, and the white people put her in chains. And they put her on a slave ship and got her all the way to America. And a master named John Jones bought her, and he was very mean, and she always remembered her promise and what her name meant, and she
looked up at the stars.
and she remembered the promise that she had made with her sister. And so that way they were sort of talking to each other.
They were still sort of being together, yeah, through the stars. Well, it's an important lesson for all of us to remember, for that not to happen again ever in other countries, and we need to pray that that will not be the situation again for people. But it was a very beautiful story, and we congratulate you on being a second-time winner. And, you know, we only do the contest. This is the first year we've done fifth grade. We always do K through 3, and then last year we added fourth grade, and this year we got a request to add fifth grade as well. So we do K through 5, and so next year, I don't know, we'll have to look for your good writing in somewhere else, okay? But keep doing it, because that's really great, and we were glad to see you back again. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again to each and every one of you, and thanks for sharing a little bit of your story with everyone else so that they can know what you wrote about. Congratulations for winning, and thanks to each and every one of you for coming tonight. Hopefully, we'll see you next year.